Oh, perfect. Share up. All right. Happy holidays. Festive mood. Welcome to the show. Busy day for everyone with Christmas Eve. So we'll try to keep this relatively tight. We're going to go over 2 NFL games. I like something in the Friday game between the Saints and the Vikings. I like something on Saturday. In addition, I've got a handful of plays, 5 for the NBA card on Christmas Day. I generally like to bet every game on Christmas Day. Not saying I have an edge. I'll probably be on it by tip time. But the point is, the lines moved a little too much. So we'll get to all that in a second. A reminder, next stream is going to be on Thursday. Today's Thursday. Sunday morning. Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. We do the full NFL rundown. And then Sunday afternoon, at the conclusion of the final afternoon game, we go live to talk Sunday Night Football. So, recap from Thursday. Not a bad day out. 4-2. I keep saying Thursday. Today is Thursday, yet I'm trying to tell you about something in the future and something in the past, and I keep talking about the present. Brains mush. Recap from Monday night. 4-2 on the 6 picks. We had Roethlisberger under on attempts, Roethlisberger under on completions, Austin Pay +3. That was a nice little comeback. That was in college hoops. And then Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker from Cincinnati, over in tackles. Hit those 4. Missed on Pittsburgh by a marathon. And App State, North Texas under. Missed that by just as much. 4-2. Overall record 130, 164, and 2. 34 games under 500. A little bit of progress. Now it's time to go on a run. How are you on the radio at the same time right now? I just got off the radio an hour ago. Radio was 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific. So Myron Metcalf and I filled in for the Lebitard show from 10 to 12 Eastern. And then we filled in for Mike Greenberg from noon to 2 p.m. And I'll be on Monday with Matt Jones. Similar time slots, I believe, in case you're interested in catching it up. Merry Christmas to you as well, Abby, and everybody else. All right, so we got the promotion. We got the recap. Let's talk about some line moves before we get into the NFL games. Let's talk about the look ahead versus where it is now. All right, look ahead versus where it is now. Look ahead's the line that came out for these games a week ago versus how much it's moved. Saints were a 6.5-point favorite on the look ahead. It got the Saints -7. This is the Friday night game. It's back down to 6.5 at some spots. So we've seen some Minnesota money over the last couple of days. Detroit didn't have a spread for Saturday's game against Tampa. There's a major COVID outbreak with the Lions. They're going to be missing several coaches. They got a whole mess going on. Currently, Buccaneers -10. I can tell you right now, I got nothing on that game at the current moment. Cardinals were a 3-point favorite over the Niners. The game's in Arizona. It's on Saturday. The Niners have already been down there for like a month because they're not allowed to play football in Santa Clara. That's now up to Arizona -5. And the Raiders were a 2-point favorite on Saturday against Miami on the look-ahead line. That is swung 5 points. It's all the way to Miami -3. I don't have a bet on that game. I'm starting to lean towards the Raiders. As bad as they've been, that is a huge line move. But the Raiders have been terrible on defense. All right. Look, if this sweater turns out to be lucky, I'll wear it for the whole year. Nothing stopping me from that. Sunday's games. The Chargers were a 2.5-point favorite over Denver. That's up to 3. So we've seen some Charger money. They've had extra rest. They've won a couple in a row. Last we saw of them, it was a nice win over the Raiders on a Thursday night. Cleveland was a 10-point favorite over the Jets. That's dropped to 9.5. Houston was an 8.5-point favorite over Cincinnati. That's down to 7.5. Pittsburgh was a 3-point favorite over Indianapolis. That's moved 4.5 points to Indy -1.5. All the way through 0, Indy's now the favorite. Pittsburgh's dropped 3 straight. We saw them on Monday night. They looked horrible against the Bengals. In the last 4 games, which goes back to that Ravens game they played against the D squad, they've been awful. 4 games where they haven't topped 20 points. They're averaging 17 points per game. Roethlisberger's thrown at least 1 interception in 5 straight. It's been terrible. So I can see the move. The question is whether or not you want to back Indy at that price. The Bears were a 3.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. That's up to 7.5. The Bears have won a couple in a row and are still in the playoff hunt. And if you're Shad Khan in Jacksonville, the owner, we've already done this rant, but you've got to make it very clear to your team, we got Trevor Lawrence. We just need to lose out. You've had no problem losing 13 in a row. Go ahead and make it 15. Everyone gets a bonus. We all ride off into the sunset, happy with the number 1 overall pick. That's part of the reason you got to figure Chicago's getting steamed. Washington was a 3-point favorite over Carolina. That's down to 1. Little uncertainty over the quarterback position. Alex Smith, they're hoping, obviously will go, but no word on that yet. Baltimore was a 9.5-point favorite over the Giants. That's up to 10. Ravens look like they're hitting their stride right now. Daniel Jones expected to play in that game. Kansas City was a 12.5-point favorite over Atlanta, down to 11. I saw this get down to 10 and then get bounced back up. So there's been some Atlanta money hitting the market. Chiefs haven't covered the spread in either 5 or 6 straight. I think it's 6 straight at this point. And this is a huge number. Backdoor is wide open here for a Chiefs team that's not worried about style points. Seattle was -2 against the Rams on the look ahead. That's 1.5. Philly was a pick 'em at Dallas. Philly's now a 2.5-point favorite. People very excited about Jalen Hurts. Green Bay was a 4.5-point favorite against Tennessee, down to 3.5. Tennessee can run the ball. That's going to be a fantastic game. Buffalo, Monday night, was a 4.5-point favorite at New England. That is now 7. So, in the interest of time, let's jump into some picks, discuss some games, if there's any questions, and then we'll move forward and try to have a happy holiday. The only thing I'm focusing on is the Christmas NBA slate and the Friday and Saturday NFL games. We'll do all the Sunday NFL games, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday morning. Right back here. I am going to lay the 6.5 with the Saints right out of the gate. I'm glad it came down to 6.5 and I don't have to lay the full touchdown. Minnesota kind of got a little run going there at the end. It was when they came off the bye. They beat the Packers. They won like 5 straight. And it looked like they were starting to turn things around, and they might be that team you don't want to face late in the season, as I channel my inner Chris Farley. But ultimately, they haven't been very good. And over the last 5 games, they're 2-3. That's where they are. It's who they are at this point. They're 2-3 over the last 5. The 2 wins have come by a combined 4 points against Carolina and Jacksonville. So they're not even beating good teams. And one of the losses was against Dallas. Not a good team. So I don't think Minnesota's all that great. And the main reason for that is that they are not the defensive team that we've come to know under their identity with Mike Zimmer. They're at their best when they play good defense and keep the offense manageable. This year, they're asking too much from the offense. They got weapons. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, they've got weapons, but they don't have the defense. Currently 23rd or worse in opponent yards per play, scoring defense, and sacks. They don't play very good defense. They've got a good offense. But this game, Saints have lost 2 in a row. Saints can play good defense. They can pressure Cousins. They can force some mistakes. I think this is going to be similar to what we saw in the Buccaneers game a couple weeks ago when we had Tampa in that spot. We kept that one well. We ended up winning, although I didn't think the Bucs looked great, especially in the first half. Then they put it on the Vikings later. I think something like that's going to happen here. Eventually, the dam's going to break. The Saints are going to get it going. Drew Brees was terrible last week. I think part of that was him knocking off the rust coming back from injury. I expect a better performance here. Viking defense isn't very good. Remember something. Mitchell Trubisky completed 71% of his passes against this defense last week. That's an insane number for Trubisky. This isn't necessarily to bag on Trubisky, but let's try to be honest with ourselves. If he could go out there and have that kind of success against this defense, and lots of other quarterbacks have had their success against this defense, Brees should have some success against this defense. Coupled with what New Orleans defense is capable of doing, we're laying the 6.5 with the Saints. That's game number 1. Only one play for Saturday. That's going to be Arizona -5 over the Niners. I don't get this line. Last week, Arizona was 6.5 over Philadelphia. Now they're 5 over San Francisco. CJ Beathard is getting the start at quarterback. I mean, originally Beathard was the backup. This is like 2 years ago. And then he showed he wasn't the guy. He's a hard worker, but he's not the guy. So they turned it over to Mullins. He's shown he's not the guy, and it's been so bad that they're going back to Beathard. There's not a whole lot to be inspired by there. The Niners strike me as a team that was in the Super Bowl last year, didn't catch the breaks this year, and they're pretty much ready for the end of the season. They've lost 6 of 7. They've lost those 6 games by an average of 11 points per game, so they're not even competing. During that 7-game stretch I'm talking about, where they've lost 6, they're giving up 30 points per game. So they're not playing defense. They're not being competitive. They're not winning games. I think they're ready for the season to end. I think this is like a bowl game. You got one team that has no motivation whatsoever. The Niners do not want to play this game. And you got the Cardinals who are competing for a playoff spot. Cardinals had a tough little run there, but they beat the Giants. They beat the Eagles. That was a good test last week. They're in this thing. They're doing well. Minnesota losing has put them in a great position. Also, and this might be the keynote, the Niners have never covered against Kyler Murray. It's only 3 games. It's a small sample, but they've never covered against him. They've lost twice against the spread, and they pushed once. They do not fare well with mobile quarterbacks, of which Kyler Murray is one. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, guys who can run, dual threats who can extend plays, forcing the San Francisco secondary to cover for longer than defensive coordinator Robert Saleh would like. That's what hurts these guys, and that's what Murray's capable of doing. Never covered the spread against Murray. Going to lay the 5 with Arizona over San Francisco. So those are the 2 NFL plays. Saints minus 6.5 over the Vikings. Cardinals minus 5 over San Francisco. Tampa Bay should blow out Detroit, but the Lions situation's a mess. I don't know if I want to lay 3 on the road with Miami. The value on that is long gone. So that's where we stand as of now. 5 NBA plays. I'm going to play New Orleans plus 4.5 in the first game against Miami. So I didn't have a real high expectation for New Orleans this year. I thought with a new head coach and Stan Van Gundy, some new pieces, Zion's conditioning, trying to gel it all together, I thought they'd take a step forward, but I thought next year would be the year they'd pop. Not saying I've changed that opinion, but there are a few things I like about this. Number one, I had New Orleans last night, played very well against Toronto. Lots of hustle, and they're playing better defense. That's what Van Gundy's going to bring to this team. Meanwhile, Miami, just like the Lakers, lost their opening game. Who could have seen that coming, right? These guys played game 6 in the bubble and then had 71 or 72 days of non-competitive basketball off and then jump back into the season. Physically, emotionally, mentally, I don't know if you're ready to go. I don't know if we should expect you to be ready to go there. And it didn't look like either team was. So with Miami, I think there's still a fatigue issue. With New Orleans, I think they're young and spry and ready to run. I think they're ready to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game outright. I think it's going to take Miami. We're so focused on the Lakers maybe needing some time. We didn't even think about the team that lost in the bubble and whether or not they're going to get any time. So that's reason 1, I like New Orleans. Reason 2, which is going to be bet 2, I'm going to play under 224.5 here. I think this is high-minded team. Now, the reason this is higher than I would expect is I think it's the New Orleans effect. New Orleans is known for playing awful defense and moving at a pretty fast pace. But here's the thing. I don't think that's the team for New Orleans this year. I think they're going to have a slower pace, and I think they're going to play better defense. That's not saying much because the defense last year was terrible, but I think they're going to play better defense this year with a slower pace. And I think there's a huge advantage because I think they're being priced now like they were priced last season. And I think it's a different team this season. And we saw that in the game against the Raptors. Now, granted, the Raptors are a slower paced team that plays D, but what was the final of that? Like 113-99? Slower paced team that plays D. Who does that sound like? Miami. It sounds exactly like Miami, who they're playing on Christmas Day. So I'm going to take the 4.5 with New Orleans. I'm also going to play under 224.5 there. Third NBA game. Warriors Bucks under 232.5. Bucks are up to 10. I'm inclined to lay it. I'm not going to as of now. I'm inclined because no Draymond Green, and I think the Warriors are just going to be kind of brutal this year. But I think this is going to be similar to what we saw in the Nets game, in that the Warriors are going to be outmanned, outgunned. They're going to get down big. They're not going to score their share of the points. And because Milwaukee's not going to have the motivation or the need to go full steam ahead in the fourth quarter, we're talking about a total of 232.5. You could have Milwaukee put up 120 in this game without even trying. And the Warriors can go ahead and put their 100 or 105 up. And we're still under by 7 to 10 points, right? No Draymond Green means you've lost the highest IQ on the team. You've lost the key defensive component on the team. And you've lost some of the best passing on the team. We got to stop looking at the Warriors as a team just off the dynasty or still clinging to the dynasty. The dynasty involved Kevin Durant, he's gone. The dynasty involved Klay Thompson, he's gone. The dynasty involved Draymond Green, he's hurt. The dynasty involved Andre Iguodala, he's gone. The dynasty involved a deeper, more robust bench. It's not there. This is not that team. It's not the bag on the Warriors, but I was there front and center for it for 6 years. It was awesome. It was absolutely incredible during that 5-year stretch. But now it's kind of over. And it doesn't mean they can't get back to some level of competition, but they got too many injuries. Too many guys are out. Klay and Draymond are both out for this game. Wiggins and Oubre were terrible against the Nets. That's not to say they'll be terrible in this game, but I think you have a similar situation. Plus, Milwaukee coming off that loss against Boston, that's huge for us here. I think you get a great effort from Milwaukee. I don't want to lay the 10 because I'm afraid of the back door, but I would go ahead and play the under because I don't think the Warriors are going to hold up their end, and I don't think the Bucks are going to need to throttle down late. So under 232.5 Warriors Bucks. I'm going to take 6 with Dallas against the Lakers. I think the Lakers are going to give you a better effort than we saw in game 1. They're not going to want to start 0-2. It's Christmas. You're probably going to get a better response. Dallas just lost last night to Phoenix. Suns look legit, but there's a lot of points. Lakers, Luka, they played some spirited matchups last year. I just think it's too many. If this was sitting around 3, I'd get it. 6, I want to play the Mavericks. They can score. They can score. They didn't have a great night last night, so be it. I still think the Lakers, who went 71 days of non-competitive basketball from game 6 to the start, I still think they got some time to heal, man. Mentally, emotionally, physically, all that stuff. Like you come out of the bubble, you win a title, you're going to celebrate a little bit. Maybe you let yourself go a little bit. You go off the diet. Then you got to get back into shape. Then you got to start working. Then boom, the season starts. Like you normally have a longer break. So I don't think there's a much pressure on a champion to come out firing from the gates. Dallas plus 6. And then finally, I will lay the 2.5 with the Clippers against the Nuggets. I like the Nuggets as a regular season team, but I'm not buying all the way in. And I think the Clippers are going to be on the redemption tour here. I really do. I think this is one of those scenarios where we all had these very high expectations for the Clippers last year. They flamed out, and now we've all checked out on them. Kind of like the Browns in the NFL. High expectations last year, flamed out, fired their coach. We all checked out. And then it was like, ooh, they're actually pretty good. Yeah, they were pretty good. The prediction wasn't that far off. It just missed by a year. I think that's happening here. I'm not saying they're going to win the title or beat the Lakers, but remember something. A year ago, a little over a year ago, Kawhi Leonard took Toronto to the finals and won the championship. King of the mountain, right? We were talking about whether or not he was the heir to LeBron's throne or if he was the best player in basketball. Now he's looked at some like diva malcontent. He went from the top of the heap to they're laughing. People are laughing at the Clippers. I've laughed at the Clippers. I don't necessarily, I think that affects them. And I think now that everyone's checked out on him, I think that's the time to buy. Denver's not bad. They lost the opener to the Kings. They can very well win this game, but I think you're going to get another good effort from the Clippers. There's a little bit of a revenge tour here. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, whether or not they do anything in the playoffs, that remains to be seen. But I think the regular season is going to be solid. Clippers minus 2.5. So there's your recap, ladies and gentlemen. In the NFL, boy, I just wrote all over the table there. It's not really strong. Saints minus 6.5 over the Vikings. And then on Saturday, Cardinals minus 5 over the Niners. That's 2. 5 plays on Christmas for the NBA. Pelicans plus 4.5. Pelicans Heat under 224.5. Warriors Bucks under 232.5. Dallas plus 6 over the Lakers. And the Clippers minus 2.5 over the Nuggets. Give us a Christmas Day parlay. You could just do same team parlay. I don't like same game parlays. It's like you're rooting for too much stuff to happen. I would say, here's one for you on Christmas. Pelicans under parlayed with the Bucks under. Do that. There's your under. Quincy, who I notice is always fading me, so good luck if you fade the other way. Tease the Bucks down in the cards. I'm not doing any NBA teasing. None of that. Good stuff. Thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. Most importantly, I know we have some fun here. I appreciate the spirited back and forth, the comments, the support. Have a wonderful Christmas. If you're not celebrating Christmas, you're celebrating something else, happy holidays. Have some grace with one another, some leeway with one another, forgiveness for one another, all that good stuff. But have a good time. Be safe out there. And I will see you Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. We'll do the NFL rundown. Happy holidays, everybody. Time for some eggnog.